All right, so as promised, I want to talk to you guys, and I hope to hear back from some of you. Um, we got to jump right into it. The reality is, from the research that I've been doing and what I'm finding, like real time, is 83% of OTs, CODA, PTs, and PTAs here in Oklahoma report feeling underpaid, undervalued, and are struggling with feelings of burnout and exhaustion. And I can tell you that as a recovering outburner, I don't know if I just made that up, but it feels right. Right? As a recovering outburner, I can see exactly why, and it does kind of scare me that we're moving in this direction. How about a little bit of backstory to really understand where I'm coming from? As I said, my name is Dr. Damon Anthony Williams. I am a doctor of physical therapy. I've been practicing for 13 years. I'm a graduate of Langston University, and it has been an amazing journey, really serving my community all over the country as a physical therapist, an educator, a researcher, a teacher, and just an all-around enthusiast for what health and wellness really looks like. And so when we talk about burnout, I know that this is not something that is just seen solely in our field, but man, let me tell you, it is something that's really running rampant, and we have to be able to understand it and see what trends are out there really affecting us if we plan on making a difference. And I don't know about you, but I know that I have plenty of years of work ahead of me and of service ahead of me. So how are we going to make it when already 83% of us are already feeling burnt out, exhausted, ready to move around? So with that being said, let's explore some of the trends and some of the things that are going on in our field that are really affecting us in this space, because we can't really find solutions unless we're ready to look at the problem. Right. So I hope that if you're joining me and watching this, that you are tagging your friends, your family members who are rehab professionals, PTs, OTs, speech language pathologists, nurses, doctors, physicians, dentists. All of us are experiencing this rate of burnout that is just wearing us out. And when we talk about um, our population of baby boomers who are really coming into their golden years, we're needed more than ever, and we're expecting to see that need rise. But how can we show up if we're already depleted and empty? So some of the things that we're seeing when it comes to burnout, let's understand what burnout is, because burnout isn't simply being tired, because most of us know what that feels like anyway. But burnout is really characterized in the research by three very specific things. The first thing is that emotional exhaustion. Emotional exhaustion is what happens when you give so much of your personal self to your career, to your patients, to the office, to the work family, so much so that you hardly have anything left to really feel what is essential to our humanistic needs and our connections to other people. And when you're in the healthcare field and in the rehab field particularly, we spend a lot of time with our patients. And let's be honest, most of them are coming to us in the worst moments of their life. And so it can become exhausting to really have that emotional space and that empathy for others around us. And when we find ourselves in that place of burnout, that emotional empathy that you have for others is just completely depleted, and you can't really find much in yourself to give to those that you're serving, which, as we all know, can really become hard for us and even dangerous for us being able to do our jobs effectively and efficiently. So that's number one, emotional exhaustion. Number two is that depersonalization. I got into physical therapy 13 years ago with a passion for really seeing people move better and knowing that I could bring in my own personal experiences, my own skills, and my own thought processes and creativity to the space. And when we look at that, burnout really leads us into really depersonalizing our experiences. We literally come in and we are just like a cog on the wheel. We only want to do the bare minimum. We only have to give the bare minimum of our jobs. And what that looks like in rehab is maybe we're spending the minimal amount of time with our patients. We are explaining and sharing with them the minimal amount that we need to do to get the job done without getting written up. We are really depersonalizing it. There's nothing special that we're bringing to the table anymore because we are just tapped out. And that is very, very common in this space of kind of the rehab team and especially in healthcare. I mean, even before COVID 2020 hit. So with COVID-19, yeah, I called it COVID 2020 because that's when a lot of us really, really, really felt the brunt of what it looks like to live with COVID. So when COVID hit, it really just tapped out many of us, not just emotionally, but personally in the space that we were just showing up because, well, if we were lucky enough to still have a job, that's all we could really give. So there's your emotional exhaustion, there's your depersonalization, and then that last piece of what burnout really looks like is kind of that sense of not having any accomplishment. Have you ever been on a job where you felt like if I wasn't here, it wouldn't even matter? Have you ever felt like what you're doing in this time, in this space, your treatments, your interactions with your patients doesn't really matter. It doesn't make a difference for them, for the company, and really for yourself. That last piece is really what encapsulates what burnout looks like. So yes, we all work our tails off and we are tired, and sometimes we can even feel exhausted from a long day or a long week or a heavy caseload. But that burnout is a whole different monster, and it's time that we really recognize it and honor it for what it is, because that is where we're going to find that we're going to make more medical mistakes. So that makes our treatment and our practice more risky. We're going to find that we're no longer happy and that we're not able to actually meet the needs of our patients and our clients. And that's the big one for me. I talk about being kind of a recurring outburner. There were times when I realized that there was nothing in my practice that was serving me because I was so burnt out. I was so tired and exhausted and just disconnected from what it looked like. And that was the beginning of my journey that really brought us right here to this space and to what Willpower Wellness and Consulting really is. So if you guys are jumping in and joining me, I want to say thank you. I want to honor you for all the ways that you serve your community. And that doesn't just mean those who are in the rehab field with me. I mean everyone, because burnout is an issue that's really running rampant across the board. So I can speak from my experience and talk about how, I spent the first 6 or 7 years of my career working in the hospitals, working in nursing homes, and also working in academia and doing some teaching and tutoring for PT programs. And I can tell you there's so much joy and passion in giving and in serving. But when it becomes too much and when things change, and we saw this coming. We saw this coming even before COVID. Then we find ourselves in that burnout phase. So let's talk a little bit about what are some of the trends that we're seeing in particularly this rehab space that are affecting us and that are leading us towards burnout. And hopefully we can start having discussions about what it looks like to recover from that. So one of the most influential trends, of course, is that insurance reimbursement rates are lowering. If you have had your head anywhere above water in the rehab field, then you know that over the last year or so, it has been a really, really tough cut where Medicare has reduced by almost 10% reimbursement rates for rehab. Also, we're seeing that there is a decreased utilization of our assistants, of PTAs and CODAs, as far as the reimbursement rate goes. And so we already know that when CMS makes a change, that most of the insurance companies and providers that pay for our care are going to follow suit. So it's been really tough to navigate that space when our education is increased in how expensive it is to get into the field, and yet the reimbursement rates for companies and businesses that are trying to serve the community are going down. I mean, do we need to talk about inflation, right? While the reimbursement rates are going down, this is a real struggle that we're dealing with in our field because it leads us to have other issues in how we're enjoying and performing in our jobs. So another big thing that I've talked about is the increase in how expensive it is to get into the field. I love being a physical therapist. I have enjoyed it, the variability in how we can work all across the board. I mean, I have colleagues and friends who are working with professional teams. I myself prefer to work in health and wellness centers. I like working with the geriatric population. We have therapists who work with athletes, who work with children, who work in all kinds of different areas. But it doesn't matter when you get to those places if it costs you 150 to $200,000 just to get there. When our reimbursement rates are going down and our pay is going down and inflation is going up, we're having a really tough time of balancing our bills, including student loans, and having a steady job that actually allows us to have a life. So many of us, especially in PTs and OTs and assistants alike, have two, maybe even three jobs just to try to make ends meet. And yeah, if I'm telling you now that the average PT salary beginning is in like 70,000, not that that sounds bad, but when you've got over $200,000 in student loans off jump, that becomes a problem. And so that is really affecting what it looks like for us to find some longevity and reduce the stress and anxiety of being in this healthcare field. So that's one thing that is always that is affecting this, and we're not going to see that change anytime soon for most of us. The next thing is we're starting to see in rehab care that the acuity and the complexity of our patients are increasing. Now, for this reason, I really do enjoy that I had a wonderful education in my Doctorate of PT program at Langston University, because I was prepared to see some of the most complex patients and really make a difference. But I can tell you that after my 6 or 7 years working in the nursing home and watching the acuity and the complexity of our patients drop, it became increasingly difficult for me to give of my emotional self, to give of my physical self, and to even feel like a lot of what I was doing was making a difference. I don't know about you guys, but I watched over the years as my patients who I was treating in these rehab centers and skilled nursing facilities and long-term acute care go from people who were there temporarily because they needed a little more hands-on extra care and nursing care and medical care while they were going through the rehab process, to those people being more acute and more complex in that maybe they had a trach. And we started to see a lot more patients who were unfortunately, and I empathize with what people are going through, but we're seeing more patients who are extremely, extremely obese, or maybe they've had a third or a fourth stroke, and they are cognitively, like mentally, not able to even participate in care. And so being asked to serve those patients and those people with the same intensity as we were asked to see people who we could see improvements in and really see the work pay off, that was really tough for me. And that was a big part of my own burnout. So I know that we're seeing that a lot of places and therapists who are working in hospitals and long-term acute care and skilled nursing facilities, like I did for years, they're experiencing that, and it's tough. It is extremely tough. And let's face it, as much as we want people to heal and feel and be better, that's not changing much these days. So one other thing that I'll point towards before we talk about maybe some of the solutions for this is really seeing that productivity demands are going up. Yes, because reimbursement's going down, right? The cost of running a business is going up, especially with inflation and with the changes that happened over the past couple of years. So now as professionals, of course, we're asked to really show the efficiency and effectiveness of our work. But how can we do that when we have 3 or 4 patients at a time? How can you really give good quality care in that space? And no, we're not going to talk, we're not going to talk about whether or not that is moral or if it's legal, because that's not the question. What I'm saying is that when you are in the service of others, it's really hard to serve very particular skills and complex needs of one patient when you have 3 other patients that you have to watch for, make sure they're secure and they're safe. So it's a big part of it. So when our productivity levels rise, that means we take a lot more paperwork home. That means we miss, and there are even research studies that show that the mistakes in healthcare are increased because of those. So with all of that, all of those things being central to the experience of being in what used to be one of the most rewarding fields, of work, all of that together has really drained us and it has really made it hard for us to show up as our best selves in this space. So I want to finish this talk with maybe some recommendations that can help you, my fellow rehab warriors, and maybe even my administrators and directors really understand some things that you can do and should be doing that are going to improve your business, because we know that burnout, right, and exhaustion lead to higher turnover. It leads to absenteeism. It leads to lower productivity, and it means higher employee health costs. That means that's costing your business money. So the pizza party and the t-shirts aren't going to cut it. They're not. So I want to suggest three things that may help you to kind of turn this around. And for my individual rehab warriors, these are things that you can take with you as you move through your own journey as a rehab professional who has a heart for serving others. So one, let's focus on putting our values front and center. Your values as an individual, as a person, they are center to every decision, reaction, and action that you make. So when you understand your values, then you can really make decisions that are going to allow you to reduce your stress level, that are going to allow you to communicate better, and really enjoy life better for you. So put your values front and center, and I mean that on a corporate level. On the corporate level, you have to understand the values of your employees and of your rehab team, because when you're able to speak to those values and through those values, that's when they become happier employees and more productive employees. And there's a lot of work out here that we can do to really bring that to the forefront. Secondly, I want you to prioritize wellness. Prioritize wellness. I don't mean in the way of just because your employees have health insurance that's wellness, because that's not the case. When we look at what wellness really looks like, we have to understand and respect and honor their physical wellness, their vocational wellness, but also social wellness, environmental wellness. So looking at those things that really allow your employees and yourself in your workspace to feel seen and heard and to feel honored. That is important to really prioritize what wellness looks like, true wellness. And then lastly, find ways to introduce novelty and new things, new modalities, new opportunities to learn, new treatment methods, new philosophies on care, but find ways to bring in fun and novel ways to show not only your clients, but also your employees that it matters that they're growing and that they're learning new things and that you all are growing together as a team. So I'm really excited about these things. I hope this speaks to you. Please like, comment, share, pass this information on, and stay tuned, because I'm telling you, with Willpower Wellness and Consulting, there's so much more coming. And I'm excited about making a difference in what it looks like to live our best, healthiest, and happiest lives together. I believe that it is our mission to figure out the mindset, the method, and the motives for us to live and give our very best. So thanks for hanging out with me. Like, comment, and share, and please ask me some questions. Let's talk about it soon. Peace.